Ladies and gentlemen, we have a whistleblower in the TPSU organization. Now, this is obviously now something that is not old, new news. And the reason I say that, because if you guys have been keeping up with the Candace Owen saga, you will realize that there were people in the organization who were actually leaking some information to her, right? So it's not just her that is willing to see the whole entire house of cards, collapse on its whole entire head, because we understand that there's, well, corruption in the whole TPSU situation. All right. Now, if you see my previous video, I'm gonna go ahead and reiterate again in case you haven't seen it. I want to see who was behind the assassination, because the story that I heard from the FBI and the news and stuff like that, it doesn't line up. And one of the biggest one is the fact that, oh, Charlie Kirk got shot with the 30-06, and that's the reason why, well, not the reason, but he got shot with the 30-06. And obviously, if you've seen the whole video of him being unalived in front of millions of people, you will realize that the 30-06 is a lot more powerful than that and a lot louder than that, right? And even though after the whole situation, they went ahead and completely repaved the whole crime scene, which again doesn't line up. It just, the narrative has way too much holes. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I do not buy the FBI side of the story. All right? Because if it was true, we wouldn't be having this. We wouldn't have people in the TPSU organization who are turning out and saying, hey, something ain't right here. You know what I mean? With that being said, let's go ahead and watch some Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore. Yeah. So, whistleblower exposes shady MOSSAD operative inside TPSU. That's also one of the things that's going on there too.
Now, when it was finally my turn to go and talk to them, they approached me and they asked me, hey, what are your views on Israel? And I just told them, I think Israel's a good country. At the time, I thought so, at least. And they told me, okay, well, what do you think about, Mossad and, Israeli forces? And I was like, they're all right, yeah. And they were like, what if we told you we're part of it, Israeli groups and forces? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, and you work for Turning Point, right? And they were like, yeah, we do. We've been working for Turning Point for the past 4 or 5 years now.
Oof. So yeah, when it comes to Israel being involved in this whole situation, I'm not gonna go ahead and here and sit down and tell you that it was them that did it, because I have no proof that they did do it. But I'm gonna be honest, they got a little part to do with it. All right, and here is the, let me give you the list of why. One, because Charlie Kirk said that he is, he no longer wants to be, supporting the state of Israel anymore. He turned down over, thousands of dollars that was given to him for the TPSU organization. What else? He also wanted to invite Candace Owen, and of course, we've all seen the text messages. All right, I don't need to reiterate. We all seen the text messages, and also him inviting Tucker Carlson on his TPSU, and Tucker Carlson just went off on the whole entire Israeli situation. Like, when you see the pattern that Charlie Kirk was taking and his opinion on the state of Israel, when you pay attention to those things, and then he just magically end up being assassinated, it's like, yeah, something ain't right here, man. And let's be quite honest, Israel is kind of notorious for doing false flag attack in the United States and committing heinous crime in the United States, and it doesn't get investigation. So the fact that Charlie Kirk assassination was all of a sudden just brushed under the table, like less than a month of the whole situation, and now they don't want you to talk about it. I mean, come on. The pattern just lines up. The JFK situation, USSR Liberty situation, 7/11 situation, Epstein situation. All of these is, connected to these special people in the Middle East, but not a lot of investigation are being done about it. And now the whole Charlie Kirk situation, if this was done by a lone gunman, man, I'm just saying, the investigation would probably still be going on today.
There's more explosive insiders coming out TPUSA to tell you about hooker vans and Mossad implanted inside TPUSA. So it just gets shadier and shadier. The TPUSA guys, all their shady business dealings. Now we find out that they had Mossad implanted inside TPUSA, according to this whistleblower. Let's listen.
My name is Joshua Peterson. I'm a former representative for Turning Point USA, and I have a story to tell about when I was at training at Turning Point. So the first couple nights went as you would expect. It's pretty long and strenuous work. We were being trained very vigorously, and after the first few days, we were told that we were going to have some group time. And the first thing that I thought about that was that's going to be awesome. We get a group bond and stuff like that. And I get to hang out with my leader. However, this was not the case. We were going to be going out with our former representatives that had shown up from previous years and had been at training in previous years. And they were going to be the ones that were going to show us around the city. So I get paired up with these two specific people who I cannot name currently, but they take us out. And the first thing that I found very odd about, this Christian conservative company is they rented 2 stripper vans to take us out to the city. No strippers, but it was like there were stripper poles inside the vans. Very odd, very unlike, their values, but okay.
Hey, come on, son. There's nothing more deeply spiritual than a stripper van full of hookers. You'll be saying, "Oh God," all night. Stripper poles, but no strippers? Do they make you earn that money $1 at a time in your G-string? Am I kidding? Come on. Here we go.
And then once we got down to the bars in Arizona, they started getting us drunk. The former reps were. And very drunk at that.
Sounds like a Jerry Sandusky operation.
And then they started singling out people, and they would pull them out one by one to go outside and smoke like a cigarette. Now, when it was finally my turn to go and talk to them, they approached me and they asked me, "Hey, what are your views on Israel?" And I just told them, I think Israel's a good country. At the time, I thought so, at least.
Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that they do to everybody who is a political commentator that is becoming big, right? And yes, TPSU, of course, they want to make sure that somebody who works for TPSU is in line with the whole entire Israeli movement, because let's be honest, Charlie Kirk was one of those big vocal people when it comes to the state of Israel. And so, yeah, if you are somebody who is a commentator that's becoming big, just understand that they will ask you the question, would you like to go visit the wall in Israel? In this case, obviously, they didn't ask him about that, but, they do that to everybody.
And they told me, okay, well, what do you think about MOSSAD and Israeli forces? And I was like, they're all right. Yeah. And they were like, what if we told you we're part of it? Israeli groups and forces? And I was like,
and keep in mind, they are saying this while he is completely drunk out of his mind. Because if he decides to go out there and say, hey, what's up with the, MOSSAD? They'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, you sure you heard MOSSAD, or what are you talking about? You sure you weren't too drunk last night? You sure you weren't hearing things last night? Plausible deniability.
Oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, and you work for Turning Point, right? And they were like, yeah, we do. We've been working for Turning Point for the past 4 or 5 years now. Oof. Now, at the time, I did not know if the company knew of this. I did not know if they were infiltrating the company by any means, but they were Israeli agents within Turning Point USA, and I knew that there were more as well. And there was many more of them in Turning Point. And it was a very concerning thing for me and a couple of the representatives that we noticed. And we did end up bringing it up to our administration at Turning Point that this was going on. And they said they would take care of it. And sure enough, nothing was done about it. There was absolutely zero retaliation towards those representatives that were a part of Israel. And there was nothing. And that was very disappointing to see, and honestly a huge red flag for a lot of us.
Well, that is so MOSSAD to lure them in with an empty stripper van and then try to sell them something. Am I right? Come on. Candace Owens reveals that 12 Israeli-linked cell phones were detected at Utah Valley University on the day Charlie Kirk was taken out.
See what I mean? This is what I'm talking about here. But why do they keep coming up? People try to avoid them. It's like when something big happens in America, right? And people try their utmost best not to involve the Israelis. And somehow, some way, they just end up getting involved. And it's like, why? Why are you there? What do you like? Why? Until you realize that they have full control over the Congress in America, and they'll control the monetary system. And if anything was to happen to them, they will go ahead and completely crash their whole entire market system. I mean, let's be quite honest. BlackRock, Vanguard, yeah, these are multi-billion, trillion, I would say. These people control trillions of dollars and they are invested in a lot of the business. And all they got to do is just crash the dollar and, yeah. And if you know anything about Larry Fink and these people that controls the Federal Reserve and all these banks, you'll realize, yeah, America is completely taken over, but the Trump is not the one in control.
The phones were registered in Israel. According to Owens, Kash Patel and the NSA are scrambling to keep the information from reaching the public. Wow, well, I love these whistleblowers. I think this is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
This is great. I thought all our cell phones were Israeli now, though, but aren't they? You mean there are still a few that are non-explosive? Is that real? It's the new bye-bye?
I'm not gonna lie to you. That's the least of our worries. Oh man. Yeah, Israel has nuclear bomb, by the way. Yeah. How many do they have specifically? Well, we don't know. But we do know they have it. They've admitted it, but not directly. Not like they went to the news and say, yeah, we have bomb. No. They know, we know that they have it.
Phone from the Mossad. And you get a pager thrown in. So there it is. That is, again, I can't get over. And there's people keep pretending that asking logical questions is somehow crazy. So they try to frame everything Candace Owens is saying or any questions that people have about this obvious BS story being peddled by the FBI that he got shot with a 30-06 bullet, which would have taken his head clean off. But somehow his spine was so strong, it stopped it. Okay.
Come on, man. Don't you know that Charlie Kirk was the Man of Steel? Are you kidding me? Forget all the videos that you saw out there where people use a bone that's far more bigger than the neck bone, and yet the 30-06 completely shattered that bone. Don't worry about none of that. Charlie Kirk was the exception, my brother. Charlie Kirk was the only one with the bone strong enough to stop a 30-06. If you bought that story, I feel so sorry for your blessed little heart.
Not real. They lied about the SD cards. They immediately grabbed the SD card. They lied about the drone footage. They lied about that. They lied about Mikey McCoy being covered in blood and then started directing everything. He was hundreds of yards away. He wasn't directing anything. He was still so they cannot stop lying. They're lying about everything. And
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Kurt. Kurt is
Oh.
here with this. Kurt, what do you have to say about the Mossad infiltrating TPUSA?
Didn't Al Qaeda, the 9/11 bombers, didn't they go to strip clubs too?
I think the Al Qaeda
In a van,
9/11
yeah.
bombers, they also went to strip clubs. Yes, they did.
I wonder if they got that speech. What do you think of Israel? Well, we never attacked them, of course. We're Al Qaeda.
So
The reason we're done is because Muslims are your number one enemy. Go back to sleep, you stupid goy.
they just keep doubling down on their lies. They're just lying left and right, and now they get their their paid shills, their influencers on social media to misframe everything, to put up straw men to try to discredit anybody, especially Candace Owens, who's asking logical questions. I've been through this before. I went through it with the Seth Rich investigation.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right there. Now you get the whole entire idea, ladies and gentlemen. If you see my previous videos, you will see exactly why people like Tim Pool are, just crashing out when it comes to Candace Owens looking into the whole entire Charlie Kirk situation. I'm not a big fan of Charlie Kirk. Don't get me wrong. But even I'm like, okay, something don't line up here. The man didn't deserve what he got. You know what I mean? Something don't line up here. Right? When the whole entire JFK situation happened, obviously people like us today were not alive today to see this thing, and we didn't have technology as advanced as it is now, and everybody didn't have a smartphone in their hand to rewatch the video again and come to a conclusion that something ain't right with this whole situation. So of course it was easier for them back then to brush everything under the rug. But with this whole Charlie Kirk situation, think about it. If you were alive at the time of JFK, would you have done the same thing that Candace Owens is doing? I'm just saying, if you're a patriot of this country and you're somebody who claims to be, America first and want to put American interests first and so on and so forth. I think it's very, very crucial to come to a conclusion and figuring out exactly who it is that was behind this whole situation. Because once you find out who's behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk, I guarantee you'll be able to, know who is really, really pulling the strings behind everything. Because even Donald Trump is not mentioning the fact that we need to do more investigation. I mean, let's be quite honest. And you have to understand that Charlie Kirk was extremely close to Trump. When the 12-day war was happening between Iran and Israel, Charlie Kirk literally went into the office and told Trump, hey, do not attack Iran. He was the only one which made his way and told Trump, do not do this. And of course, we understand that he ended up doing it. And then, one of the ex-CIA, I forgot his name exactly, he said that if Trump had not attacked, Israel literally threatened Donald Trump that they would have used nuclear bomb if he had not attacked. So do you think that there was a communication between Iran and America saying, hey, these maniacs are threatening to use nuclear bomb if we do not attack your bunker? They let them know in advance. And the reason I say that is because guess what? Iran literally warned America that, we're going to go ahead and send a few bombs here and there, get your troop out of there. Yeah. They communicate with each other. They don't want to look weak. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. You guys have to understand that the people who really hold power are the Israelis, right? Yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu, that's a real leader right there. And I'm going on a whole different tangent here. If you made it this far, don't forget to leave it like a sub, and I'll see you guys in the next video.